Okay, so we're going to talk about what updates are required. I'm going to have some tips again for you. What will change? So the items, the records that you're going to have to change, which is going to include course modules, course categories, formats, and masters. You might also need to update the course descriptions as well. And I've got some questions. Sorry, Joe, did you have a question?
No, this is what I'm needing to help with.
This is what you want to get your teeth into. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, great. So, like I said, we're going to update the course modules, the course categories, and the formats. Course descriptions are optional to update, because if you're advertising your courses on your website, then you would want to update your course descriptions if they reference the identifier, because in this case, only the identifier is really changing. I'd be surprised if any course descriptions go into such detail that you have to actually update the content of the course descriptions, but it's worthwhile reviewing them just to make sure. But it is handy, maybe the course description has a name for your reference, and if you want to change that to include some sort of reference to the new unit, or maybe even take the reference to the unit identifier out altogether, and therefore it can be easily used again in the future. You may even want to include in the course description a bit of a promotional activity. So sometimes those course descriptions are also embedded within emails. Just check to see if the email, particularly the registration email that's sent back to the student, check to see if that refers to the course description content. And if it does, you can expect that content to be included in the email, and you might want to make sure that it's up to date. We're going to create course masters. We're going to add new course masters. And then once we've finished our reporting and we've finished with those old course masters, we don't want to create any more new courses with those course masters, we can inactivate them. But we want to inactivate those course masters after we've done our reporting. So if you, for this year, in 2020, if you've delivered any of the units using the old units of competencies, you need to keep those course masters active, or inactivate them and then reactivate them at the time that you do your reporting, because otherwise they're going to be missed out in the reporting. And then finally, we're going to create course dates. So once you've got all those course masters created, we're going to create the course dates and then do our necessary shuffling around, either transferring students across from the old courses into the new courses, or basically having that cutoff point, and then from then on just take enrollments on those new courses, course dates going forward. So it's a little bit of a juggle to make sure you manage it correctly. So some of the tips that I give to you about doing this is it can be useful to add a prefix to the categories, particularly in this case when you're having to go through and make sure you get them all done, and it's not, they're not completely in your head at the moment which new unit IDs represent the old unit IDs. You're still getting around to that. Add a prefix to the categories or the units as they're completed. And I'm going to show you a sample of how this is done actually shortly. Group the categories if you can, and group them. I'm going to show you an example of this as well. This is grouping the categories under a sort of new units versus old units. And that allows you to, just in your head, keep them structured well, so you can keep an idea and you don't get lost. It's very easy to get distracted and lost because a lot of the names are similar. A lot of the numbers won't be familiar with you. We generally recommend you create new records, not edit the old records. Now, the reason for this is mainly for reporting purposes, because if you edit an existing course module, for example, and change the unit, everyone who's been given that course module for the last 13 years is now going to have that changed. You don't really want that. So you want to keep the course modules the same.
And just on that, Scott, you can't give, like if you go back to resend a certificate from years ago, it doesn't work.
That's right.
It mucks it up. So
yeah. So you want to keep the course modules the same and keep them in there for reporting purposes and generation of certificate purposes as well. And you want to double check that the old course module still exists, because it's really easy to accidentally edit one instead of creating a new one. Just absent-mindedly go through and edit, update it. It's okay. It's not a disaster, because you can go back and you can change it. Okay. So if you do make a mistake and you update a course module, just go back and change it back to what it was meant to be. And you can often do that by going into seeing a student's booking to check what they've got. Sorry, Jo.
So it's only course modules that's for.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely for course modules. It's a guaranteed way of getting the units marked up for the students.
Yeah, right.
But other things like course categories, I recommend it also for course categories, but more for the purposes of filtering. And if you want to know who was on the older courses, if you've retained the old course module, the old course category, you can easily filter for those students.
Yes.
If you don't, then it's going to be much more tricky, basically, because you're going to have to remember the dates that are relevant to them and things like that. So, so you can either, it is not impossible to keep the same course categories, but I generally recommend you change them just because it's going to be easier to manage going forward. And whenever you do create these new records, where you can't do it for categories or for course modules, but for formats and masters, and in fact, course descriptions, if you need to create them, you can use the add based on. So add based on this course master, add based on this format, and you effectively duplicate it, and then you can make modifications to it. And it's a complete new course master, but it doesn't mean you have to enter all the records in. You know, it's actually a really good way of getting through it quite quickly. Okay, so what's going to change? As a result of making these changes, the unit on the statement of attainment is going to change. The unit ID, the identifier. The unit reported in eventness will change as well. Yep. The course topic and the reference to the course module, that will change as well, because you're going to be changing the names of the course topics on the format. So they're going to change too. And the document topics for the students that are then going to be enrolled in these new courses, they will match the course topics, so they will be changing too.
Yep.
So that's sort of the impact of it. We're actually going to be changing things so that all the way down the line, right through to the document, to the enrollment, they're all going to change. It doesn't change on the past courses, but it will change on the future courses because we're creating new units and new course modules, etc. Okay, so the first step in creating a course module, I navigate to publish options and then open the tree view for the course modules. You can see I've done it here. I'll just see if I can highlight. You can see here I've opened up the course module. Make it a bit bigger. And then I've gone and clicked on a cog here. And then I've clicked on the edit. And then I've come up with this large edit screen here for the course module. Now, I've just edited it, but in reality, you're going to be adding a new one. Okay, so just keep in mind, you're going to be adding a new course module, not editing an existing course module. But I've opened up this one just to show you the details that we've got. So we've updated we've got the name there. I tend to start, first of all, with the subject identifier. I select the subject identifier. Usually these are set up to be defaulted anyway, so you shouldn't have to really modify this information here. But if you do, it's available to modify. And then I copy this information, I copy it up here. And that adds my new course module that I need to use. Oops, sorry. So here's an example where we have created the course modules and put them into categories. So I've got these two categories here. One's for 2020 and before, and one's 2021. And you can see we've got all these new units. Now, what I actually did is I then went and put these units, even though they haven't changed, I've moved them into the 2021 area, just so they're all together. So these here are not being, these ones down the bottom here, these are not being awarded to any students anymore. You can see these arrows, can you, that I'm writing?
Yep. Yep.
Cool. Okay, that's good. I just thought maybe I was talking to myself and you're going, what? Okay, so you can see how I've grouped, and you can do that by just clicking on this little cog and literally dragging it with the mouse and dragging it over to the existing cog or in between existing cogs. Okay, so you can move these around using your mouse. And that's the way we got these into the 2021 and 2020 categories. It's just I'm a bit of a stickler to tidiness when it comes to these things. And I find that if I keep it nice and tidy, it's much easier to manage. And when things go wrong, I can quickly see what's gone wrong by knowing how tidy it is. Okay, and then we've also got to create some new course categories. Now, the course modules only represent the units, so there aren't many of those, right? But when it comes to the course categories, there tends to be a lot, because we tend to mix and combine these different units and these different modules to make quite a large range that customers purchase. So just be aware that when it comes to course categories, you're going to have a heck of a lot more to create than you're going to create for the course modules. The tough bit was the course modules, because that was making sure you got all the new units in. Now you've got the longer work, which is creating all the course categories. And I can see actually the screenshot I've got is actually a course module, which is not so useful. So forgive me about that. But it's pretty easy. Go into publish, into options, open the tree view of the course categories, and just add categories. Okay, it's a fairly straightforward process. It doesn't involve too much. It's effectively just what you're doing with course modules, except you don't have this large form down here. So this form shouldn't be down here. It's effectively just this. And really, like I was saying, you only have to really update this if the name is changing. But if you do want to be able to filter your documents and know who's done the old unit versus the new unit, then this is the way to do it. Okay, so that could have an impact on links sent out to students if you're using the assessment tool. So just contact us to let us know that what you're doing, and then we'll just go in and double check and check to see what the impacts are. If you're not using the multi-choice assessment tool, then you don't have to worry about that, but it's just to make sure the right links go to the right people. So here's an example where we've actually, instead of using the grouping, we've actually used a prefix. So you can see here, there's a prefix to all of these. And so we add that prefix on to denote it as being different to these ones up here. It's also a good way of keeping track of where you're up to. So as you complete the 001, you put a prefix in it. And then as you do the 002, you put a prefix in it, and you sort of, it's like a checkoff list. You could even print it off if you want. I had a bit of paper beside you and just tick them off. That'd be equivalent of. But having a dash means that you don't accidentally, when you're searching for a course master or you're searching for a course, when you see the dash there, you know, oh, if I filter by that, I'm going to get courses that were delivered some time ago, not the current ones. And it'll take a little while for your mind to get away from the 003s and the 004s, which are ubiquitous in our brains at the moment, right? And then here's the same example, but you can see there that we've got the course categories grouped into 2021 and then pre-2020.
Sorry.
I've just got a new puppy, so I know all what it's like about having a dog around the place to make noises. How does that look, Joe? I know this is the sort of area that you were particularly interested in. So
yeah. Excuse me. Trying not to cough in everybody's ear. Right. Yeah. Putting that dash in front of it's what I have done in formats so far. I haven't done it in categories, so I'm going to go through and do that in categories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no real need to do it other than the purposes that I said, which is keeping track of where you're up to, but also distinguishing it from the others.
But I found that I have, when I've gone into my master's to, select a course or whatever, that it has picked up. I can pick up the old course too easy.
Right. Yes.
So having the dash in front of it's been helpful so far, because it's sort of gotten me out of a bit of trouble. But I want to know what to do with those ones that I'm not going to use anymore.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So which is what you're sort of covering. So yeah.
Yeah. Because the other thing you can do as well is when you go in to see how this course category has this top level, it's got 2021, and then it's got all these units underneath it. You can actually edit this top level, this 2021. You click on the cog and click edit, and you can tick a box that says, in name. I think it's a name checkbox. Let's just see. I'm sure In fact, if we go back,
So if you go edit,
yeah, so you
it's
include
got
a name.
name. Yeah.
You include a name. If you check that box,
Yeah.
there, just tick it. Whatever is here will also be included in the child branches. So that means I'll just go forward again for you. So if you tick that, and then you go here. So in this case, 2021, if it had include name, then when you see it in the list of drop downs, it'll include 2021 and then the name of the unit. So that might just help you. That's another way of doing it. So other than putting a prefix, you can manually put a prefix in, or you could, if you group them together, just make that in name, include a name, and then that will be included in the name of that. You with me? Give it a go, maybe.
I am kind of, in as much as that first, yeah, I get that, but 2021 course category. So how do I get that 2021 for a start off?
Oh, you just
add before this node.
Yeah, add before this node. Yeah, that's right. In fact, it doesn't matter where it is, you can drag it up, so it doesn't really matter too much. And
so then before this node, yeah.
Yeah, and it does take a little bit of effort, and there's a little bit of mouse work to drag it underneath, but then you can create that big long list, and it's a really nice way of keeping things clean. I know Karuna and I did a lot of this work, didn't we, Karuna? We're experts when it comes to putting things into trees and underneath subcategories and things.
So okay, so I've just done that. I've just add before this node in 2021, and then do I have to go include a name? Tick the box.
Yeah, tick include a name, and then you do need to have. You see how that second set is slightly indented?
Yes.
That means that this was dragged onto that, and it was made a child of that, and then you have to drag each one in. So it's a little bit of work.
Okay.
Each one in, and then they'll all be in a sort of like a stepwise fashion in the grouping. And
just
so
doing that now. So I've got 2020. Oh yeah, okay, right. That's actually I can do that.
You can do that. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well done.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Okay, so I think we got to here, didn't we? So talking about new formats. So new formats. When you're creating these formats, you really should create new formats because, again, like I say, the old formats, it's a little bit less of an urgency here, where you could theoretically update the old formats and not have too much of an impact. But I'm just worried that maybe if, for example, there's a booking that was forgotten to be inputted or something like that. And if we go back, those new formats are going to include the wrong course modules, the wrong units. So I prefer to keep these formats the same. And then as we move forward, we create a new format. Now, that's not the case for people who are doing qualifications. If you're doing qualifications, you don't want to keep doing that because you might have, say, 30 or 40 units of competency for a particular course. Each time one updates, you don't want to create a new format, a new course master for that. So what I tend to suggest then is we actually add the new units to the bottom. And so we keep adding the units to the bottom, and then we take them off as we stop using those units. So we keep the same format, and we just remove the units as we stop delivering them. Okay. So a little bit different to qualifications then. So not so relevant to first aid organizations, but different to if you're doing full qualifications with lots of units. So these are those areas highlighted in red on that screenshot. These are the areas that you're most likely to have to update. So updating the name of the format, or well, when I say update, creating a new format. When you create a new format, these are the areas you need to probably create a new one, because you remember using add based on. So if you do that, you're actually going to have this information already pre-filled in, and if you're using these fields, you need to update it. Course category, I tend to not fill that in. I tend to leave that blank. And label, sometimes label is just the same as the name, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then often we don't have a format description, but if you do, again, those names might have to change. And then primarily down the bottom there for the module and the topic name, of course, those are going to be changing because those are going to represent the new module that you've created, a new course module.
Okay.
So that's the new formats. It's funny because when you're delivering just one unit of competency, the format effectively is the same name as the topic and the module. which makes you feel like you're just repeating everything, right? But,
Yeah, exactly.
It is the right way to do it, though. So.
Good.
Okay, and then you've got to create new masters. So you've got to navigate to publish masters, and then you use add based on to create a new master. And you can inactivate the old as they're completed. And just keep in mind, you do have to keep them activated if you need to report on them. Okay, so don't inactivate them and then not reactivate them for your 2021 reporting, because you will need them for that. And that's just showing you the button to push, which is the add based on, just that little sort of 2 bits of paper there. And these are when you're creating a new master using the add based on, these are the fields that you most likely want to update. You're going to want to update the name, update the course category, update the course format, and probably update the course description. Although, if it's not being used, you can again be a bit more relaxed about that as well. And that's all you have to do when you're creating these new masters. Those are the only things that really change. Unless you've got a change in pricing and things like that, then you'd want to add those in as well. But just for the unit change, that's all you have to do.
So Scott, so with course description part there,
yeah,
that's not listed under options at all, is it? You actually have to go into the course master to do that part of the course description.
The course descriptions are under publish content.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to make adjustments to course descriptions, you go to publish content. And then you can, again, use the add based on, or probably it's worthwhile just editing the existing ones that are in there. And in the case of the course description, you don't really need to add a new one. You're fine, because you're not going to be, unless you're advertising the old units still.
No.
If you're still advertising the old units, then you probably do want to create new ones. But if you're not, then just edit the existing ones. It's quite likely, actually, that the course descriptions are not going to contain such detailed information that they can't be reused. I suspect that they're going to be, unless they actually refer to the identifier. But yeah, that's pretty easy to change. In fact, I recommend if they do refer to the identifier, unless you think it's a marketing plus to have it there, maybe not even bother. Okay, so here's some questions I came up with that I thought you might ask. So some of these maybe have already been answered, but I just wanted to go through them and just maybe have a bit of a discussion to see if we've got the same ideas here. So why doesn't Coursera just automatically update the unit? That's something that people ask us. Why don't you just automatically update it? And the reality is it's too complex to do that. We automatically add those units to be added to your courses, but who's to know when you're going to change across? Who's to know whether or not you're going to want to create new combinations or describe it differently? It's not something, unfortunately, we can do in an automated way. So believe me, you don't want us doing that. So also, why should I not just update my existing course modules? Well, I think we talked about that, didn't we? It's going to change all the past students. So, and the award and the units they've given, all their certificates, if they're reproduced, will not have the correct units on them, I think so. Do I need to update course descriptions also? We had a good discussion about that. So,
not particularly necessary, so I can probably stop doing that.
Yeah.
I don't just not having them.
Yeah, usually course descriptions are they're marketing focused, so they don't go into the detail of what's going to be assessed and the details of that. So it's less likely that they'll have to need to be updated. So why can't I just update existing course categories? Well, in reality, you probably can, but you do lose the ability to do filtering of enrollments and courses that pertain to before the unit was updated. Again, if you're doing qualifications like Karuna's, you probably don't have to worry about those full qualifications to change the course categories then. I think they just stay the same. But for those people who are using first aid, then you definitely do have to do that. Can I inactivate the course master so they're no longer used? Yes, you can. But just remember, those course dates will be taken off the website and you won't be able to report on that data. And there's nothing wrong with doing it and then bringing it back again. just before reporting time. That will also work. But just be aware of that impact.
Sounds like something that could get forgotten quite easy.
It could get forgotten. Yeah, that's right. You need to put
at a time when things go wrong anyway. So
put something in the calendar next to your event misreporting and reactivate the such and such. Any other questions about that?
Not from me.
Okay, I'm good.
No.
Cool.
Good.
All right. Now this is the time you're all waiting for, right? The quiz. Okay, here we go. When updating coursesales.com with a new unit, what needs to be updated, created?
Course module.
Yeah, you can have more than one on these too, remember?
And format course, and format PDF.
Yeah, where's that going?
Yeah, A, B, and E.
Oh, here we go.
Actually, I think the statement of attainment, like I had to go in and change the those as well, Scott.
Oh, did you?
Somewhere. Yeah, because the codes are different.
Oh, I think what happened, that's right, because we've got a clever thing that we do. I don't think it was the statements of attainment that we need to update. It was the
courses,
the fields, wasn't it? And the course descriptions, because for you we were using course descriptions to have an alternative name and to describe the expiry dates as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think the expiry dates referred to the IDs, didn't they? So yeah. So in your case, the answer is not true, but theoretically they should not require updating. But that's a good point. So in Katie's case, we were including the expiry dates on the certificates, but the expiry dates, that is to say, we would mention, for example, 001 expires in 12 months, blah blah blah, those sorts of things. They were actually linked and on the course description, which meant that we needed to make sure that the correct course descriptions or the descriptions referred to the correct courses, because we were just referring to them as HLT AID 001. So they obviously need to be changed. Okay. Yeah, so emails and the PDF certificates, they should not need to be changed, but there are some cases where they do need to be. So generally speaking, they shouldn't be, but the other scenario might be if we have a link in there referring to a particular qualification, a particular assessment, multi-choice assessment. Okay, next question, here we go. Which statement is incorrect?
A is incorrect.
B. Oh, hang on, I'm trying to this very trainers. What?
Example new modules must suit for you. Yeah, A you can, can't you? No. B, yeah. B's incorrect.
B is incorrect.
You can. You did say, didn't you, that you can set out your modules and your masters before ASQA approval.
Yes.
But you can't actually do any training or whatever until you got your.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you can, and that's a great thing, right? You can set yourself all up ready to go, waiting for the ASQA approval, and then once they give you approval, bang, you're ready to go. So.
Do you know, just while you're on that, I applied for 2 new, don't hate me, Scott, 2 new units of competency last week, which are still in the first aid.
Yeah.
And usually there's a $500 fee, but they're waivering that until June, just so you all know. You probably already knew that anyway.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Yeah, so there's no fee if you request them. I was expecting to get a fee, but I didn't get one because they said 0. I went, oh, it's nice.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it's good.
Gosh, I wonder. I don't know if they've promoted that so much. I don't know. I haven't.
No, well, I didn't know until I'd gone to pay, and they went, no, there's no fee for either of them, and it doesn't matter how many you add.
Wow.
So there you go. Thanks, COVID.
There you go. Yeah, thanks, COVID. Okay, next quiz question. Get ready, everyone. Drum roll.
Of course, module. Why should we not?
Because it looks untidy. See?
Yeah.
Not inactivate.
We
See?
may need to report these units in such way, reporting periods. We should be not inactivate.
Is it
Yeah, so
A and B?
A,
or-
yeah,
A and B.
A and
Yeah.
B.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't read that properly.
You just thought it was just a way out answer because it looks untidy. Should choose
Because I
that.
inactivated them.
It's the odd one.
Mine
It's the shortest answer. That's it. Okay.
God, I don't train this.
I think I got one more question. Let's have a look. Yeah, one more question. How's that?
They don't need to be updated. Course code, format, course master, payment types.
Yeah, payment types.
Do not need to be updated. Module category format. Yeah, payment types.
That is correct. Yep. Payment types is correct.
Yeah, if it enters the unique. Yeah.
And here's a little activity, which is basically what you're going to have to do to upgrade.
Yeah. Create a
the
new
new
course
unit.
module and a new course. Well, for me, where Dave's already training the new unit, so that's really good for me.
Yeah, I guess it is.
So
Other
all
than the
I've got
fact
to do.
Well, other than the fact that those students, so does that mean all students in 2021 are using the new units, or is it just?
Basically, now from once he's finished updating the courses, they're using them. So anything coming forward is new. Any courses happening from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you've got a situation where some students are booking on courses that have old units, are you data entering those or not entering them at the moment? What's your?
Because of how Dave's company works, it's basically he just gets asked to run the courses or whatever. So he'll use the material that's updated. Once he's done everything that he's got to do, he'll use it. So for us, I guess it's different because the people are coming to him and it's just all new people. So it's just refreshers or whatever. And they're using updated.
But in course sales, have you added them with the old units or with the new units?
Oh, well, that's the other thing is I want to tidy up is I've got the new and the old in there still.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. So that's why I need to know they're making sure that I'm picking up the new courses, the new modules, and not the old ones. So that's where you dash in front of it or whatever. And yeah, I'm sort of looking at my formats now and I've gone through and put a dash for the superseded courses. So I know which ones I'm picking up for formats is the correct course.
Just as a visual indicator.
Yeah, but it's still, there seems to be an awful lot of stuff in there. I'd just like to know how to tidy it up.
Yeah, because you can inactivate those things that you're not using anymore, providing that you don't need to create new courses for them. That's fine. Formats are fairly flexible in that way. Just if they're associated to a course master, then obviously you can't really create any course dates on that. And you might want to even consider inactivating the course master if you've activated the format, because the course master is effectively useless without a format. So